Okay, so I kind of have a few videos that I want to do, but their vibes are different. So, but one struck out right now. It's insecurities. So, resistance, judgment, or attachment. And insecurity is at least one of them. And I'm trying to figure out how I would like approach this. But at one point, this became a thing that I decided to write. So, how do we explore our insecurities? I don't know if I've done a video specifically about that, but assuming that we are able to notice the emotions that come out when we're feeling insecure, right? Like we're feeling insecure and there's an emotional response. So the emotional response to the insecurity is how we notice that something's off. Normally, I think the easiest thing for people to do is to allocate anxiety to anytime you're not feeling 100%, which I think is off because really anxiety is not something we can identify with. We can't specify what's happening, and that's mainly my issue because like I went through a phase for like 3 months to 6 months where I was just really like my head was kind of scrambled for no fucking reason. And a lot has happened, a lot has passed, but it just did not really make sense. Like it did not flow. It did not. It just was always there. I don't know. Like I that's what I call anxiety. But like for me, it was I when I started articulating the things that I'm afraid that bring me fear, and the things that bring me shame, and the things that bring me kind of like that I'm judging, that I'm resisting, and that I'm basically attached to. I kind of like expressed my feelings towards everything and then went down to a certain like baseline that there are things that I'm refusing to let go of mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and all that stuff. There are things that I have made decisions about that have not really like that have not been true, which are making me feel some kind of way. And there's me kind of like looking at a place that I want to go to but not really moving towards it. So that simplifies it down to these three things: resistance, judgment, and attachment. But like there are a lot of feelings that come with like different kinds of like scenarios. Like we don't, depending on your mood, right? Like you could you can see a friend, and depending on your mood, feel different things about them. Depending on the moment, depending on what they say and what they do, they bring out things in you. And like same with a lover or a relationship person kind of thing. Same with animals. Like I love this one, but every once in a while, like I'm looking at her and be like, no, I don't understand why I'm taking this responsibility. So it's a different feeling. That doesn't change anything. It's just kind of like it's a different feeling. Your body is kind of like feeling something, something inside of it is kind of like brewing, and you're looking at it and going like, why is this happening? Because she chews on my books, man. She chews on my books, and I think she does it on purpose when I don't feed her 3 times a day. Like if anyone has cats, like I feed them once a day. They poop twice. They poop twice. How does anyone poop twice if they're eating once a day? I don't get it. But anyways, resistance, judgment, attachment, any form of insecurities is at least one of them. And let's see if I can debate this with myself and kind of go yes or no or figure something out of it. Why the hell not? So, what is an insecurity? An insecurity is a sense of weakness. I would call something basically you're feeling incomplete, you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling sensitive, delicate, like you're sore, like that's something that basically could break, could cause pain, could hurt, could disappoint, right? And insecurity, all of them are basically like in the negatives. You can't be insecure about how confident you are, can you? Can you? No, I don't think so. Maybe if somebody can convince me or tell me some story, I don't know. But an insecurity is basically just uh, let's call it something that's incomplete within me, within myself, within my mind. It's something that's incomplete, and it's something that you're not 100% maybe harmonizing with. That could be a good thing because you actually being able to connect to yourself gives you a certain level of confidence. And it's easy to say, I'm not 100% confident I can do this. It's different to say that I'm insecure about the ability to do this, right? Like, when you're saying, when you're declaring a level of confidence, what effectively you're doing is you know what you know and you know what you're capable of. And you can see a certain gap that needs to be filled, and you'll figure it out. Why? Because you already know enough and whatever it is. But being insecure kind of makes it, kind of sounds like you're, what you already know is not something you trust completely. So insecurity ultimately is you maybe being in full harmony with yourself, like not being in full harmony with yourself. Like your mind wants something, your body is able to do something, and you yourself are looking at something completely different. And that's where I think people kind of like, there's goals and there's the planning and then there's the structuring and then there's the determination, the everyday thing, the consistency that you have to build towards, and the small things, that the building blocks of your principles. And which takes me to like one of the mangas that I like writing. It's just fucking great, man. It's really like, most of my philosophy is based on the true characters and stories that I've read. And again, I'm so happy I got into anime in 2006 because it allowed me to kind of like take a step away from how everything else is portrayed. And at the very least, the differences and genres and the creativity kind of allowed me to formulate different approaches and angles towards this life. But the repeatability is not a trait that comes after success, but instead the very foundation behind it. So, an insecurity is basically, so far we have established that insecurity is not really you 100% trusting yourself when it comes to something. And how can you not trust yourself? Because you and yourself are two things. Because your mind says we're able to build this building. Your body says, it's going to take us 2 years. In your head, though, it's the building's already built. If you actually want to do that. And that's when people talk about, like, imagine what you want to do, imagine your goals. Like, if you see it already there, then everything will move towards making it happen. But each part of you kind of has to do its own, like, sets. Like, your mind has to be structured in a way where your body can build it, and you have to imagine it in a way where your mind can plan it and destructure it. I think we're onto something here. But anyways, that's where you as an intention comes, and these three kind of have to harmonize together. And I feel insecurities comes out of this. And again, like, once you interfere and you judge something as supposed to be a certain kind of way, and if it doesn't turn out to be that kind of way, it creates an insecurity. Makes sense so far. And if you're attached to something that you kind of like created or you used or established in order for you to build, like, ultimately my goal is the building, not the first floor, not an apartment. And sometimes we're attached to the door, right? Like, we just finished the door, we don't want to move past it. That's attachment. That's a certain kind of like, and that's maybe a fear as well, right? Like, attachment is a big fear. The others are not really fears. Like, resistance is not a fear. It's just kind of like more laziness, is more like, I need to do more kind of thing. That's resistance. But attachment is more, I don't want to let go. And not wanting to let go of something is fear of anything other than it's kind of like building on something beautiful. But so your mind has to truly understand what you set as an intention, what you envision, what you plan, what you draw in your head. And that's why, like, writers succeed in creating a different sense of reality, because what they do is they elaborate on it over and over and over again until they finally have a book that explains the whole thing. And over again, what we are faced with, we face our insecurities. And I think that's the challenge that human beings have every day. Because if you're actually going somewhere, anything you're doing beyond what you know right now, you're going to see an insecurity will pop up, should pop up, should. because that should pop up in order for you to see where you are now, what weakness do you have, what are the things that you kind of like need or might be missing or kind of have to strengthen or build upon. And because I'm taking a step maybe into like maybe not really the unknown, but more of uncharted territory. Like I know where I'm going, I just haven't been there before, which means I'm not really comfortable with it. So you're gonna notice that your insecurity is reflecting at least one of these: resisted judgment and attachment. Oftentimes it's more than one, and especially when you're like shifting to something completely new or you're introducing something completely new, you're probably going to see yourself having to let go of a lot, and that gets back to you and kind of like gives you one of those wake the fuck up. You kind of have to start doing things in a way that work, and we're going to have to figure it out. And ultimately, one insecurity at a time, you get rid of them until you're like, oh, okay, so like I'm already progressed. Just by eliminating the shit that's holding me back, you find yourself progressing a lot further than by building towards the things that could actually support you. And I feel like it's always about the baggage that you carry on your back, man. And it's always like the lighter you are. And Bruce Lee says it perfectly. I could end with that. It goes like, I don't pray for an easy life. I pray for a strong back to endure a hard one. So ultimately, when you're harmonizing with yourself and getting rid of the insecurities through noticing your resistances, judgment, and attachment, what effectively you're doing is getting stronger without actually having to put in the effort to strengthen yourself. You're adapting, you're evolving, and you're slowly kind of like becoming whole. And it's a video. Woohoo!